up, Doc? What's cooking? What's up, Doc? Oh, you're looking for Bugs Bunny bunting. Duck is gonna hunting just to get a rabbit skin, but now the rabbit's gonna get. What's up, Doc? What's cooking? Hey, look out! Stop! You're gonna hurt someone with that old shotgun. Yeah, what's up, Doc? We really mean it. What's up, Doc?
Hello, friends. Are you ready?
What's for dinner? I'm hungry.
Yum, 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 yum.
Delicious.
Let's go, everybody.
Yay!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner. Yay, I said that in one take. It's a Sunday afternoon, and it's a happy day just because it's Sunday. Sunday is the Lord's Day. Sunday is family day. However, I feel all the days are family days and all the days are of the Lord. But the Sunday is more special because every Sunday is a celebration of the resurrection of Christ for us. So hence it's called the Lord's Day. And it's a beautiful day. It's spring. It's here in Toronto, we have about an average of 23, 24 degrees today. So it's a beautiful day, and you're going to say to me, well, then how come you're cooking? Well, actually, my mom is going to do the cooking today, and she's going to make a certain pasta that comes from Greece with some beef in a sauce and so on and so forth. But I'm going to make chili. So I'm going to get a little bit away from the Greek recipes. I'm going to make chili because I want the chili to sit for one day before I serve it. So if you actually want to make this recipe, I'm going to serve it. I'm going to make chili, a mild chili hopefully, because my family, or half my family, isn't into very hot things and the other half is. So I'm going to kind of try to compromise and go a little bit in the middle, a little on the mild side. But I want to serve buttermilk biscuits with my chili. So I'm going to make my chili today. I'm going to let it sit for 24 hours, whatever, till tomorrow. And tomorrow I'm going to make the buttermilk biscuits, and I'm going to serve them nice and warm with a bowl of chili topped with everybody's favorite toppings. I'm not going to combine these two recipes in one episode because I've done so many episodes that are, an hour and a half long, and I think there's one for 2 hours, and so I'm trying to keep them down as much as possible. Greek cuisine is a little bit complex, and it's more involved sometimes. I wouldn't say Greek cuisine, I would just say in general there are some recipes that are more complex and take longer. And I'm not made of money, meaning I'm not rich. So what I mean by that is I can't make a recipe for you guys and say, hey, look, at this stage of the recipe, this is what your dough looks like. Put that aside. At this stage of the recipe, this is what your dough looks like, and put that aside. And guess what? This is your finished product. Put that aside. For me to do that, I would have to make, 2, 3, what's the word I'm looking for? Can't remember the word. Okay. Anyways, I would need to make 2 or 3 times of each recipe. So for example, if I wanted to show you guys the beginning of bread and how you mix it up, then I want to show you guys how it looks after it rose for 2 hours. I would have to show you a different dough, and then I would have to show you the finished product and so forth. So there's some things like that you can do by editing, but to keep an episode of cooking down, one of the ways they do it in Hollywood is the chef has prepared certain stages of the recipe before. I can't do that. So that's why my recipes may take a little longer, because I'm explaining things. I'm also explaining things for the blind. I'm not just saying, here, I'm gonna toss this into the recipe and toss onions into the recipe. I'm not going to just say that because I need to describe things for blind people. I'm blind and I want to show people that, well, I want to show sighted people that it can be done, but I also, and mostly, want to show blind people that it can be done, if that's what you want. Some people are better at cooking, some people are better at crafts, some people are better at a whole bunch of things. I mean, different things. There's blind sports. I've never played blind sports, so I probably suck at it because I really have no idea what to do or how to do it. And somebody who's blind maybe has never cooked, and so maybe they feel I suck at it and I can't do it. But what I'm trying to say is if I really wanted to put my mind and start playing blind sports, I know I could do it and I know I could learn. So it's the same thing for cooking. Maybe you've never done it before, but if you want, you can do it. And you know, it's all in our minds too when it comes to certain things. If we think positive and we think we can do it, most likely we will accomplish it. And most likely we will overcome all stumbling blocks. I've said this before, but I just want to say again, it's okay to ask for sighted help if you need it. There are certain things that no matter how hard I try, I have to ask for sighted help. That's okay. Please don't worry about things like that. Yeah, so I'm gonna do the chili recipe today, the buttermilk biscuits tomorrow. If you want to do it like me and serve it together, you can tune into both episodes, and you can jot down recipes, you can pause, play, and so on and so forth, and go on. I think that I've mentioned everything I want to mention. Oh, no. One other thing. I really, really, really want to apologize to you guys. You hear me coughing every so often. And yes, we are in a time of COVID, but no, I do not have COVID. I am a smoker. I know I should quit. I know it's bad for my health. I know. So I have a chronic cough. I will try to remember to apologize every single time I cough. But if I don't, please don't get offended. I could be speaking for an hour and I might cough 30 times. You know, and I'm in my own home, I'm in my own kitchen. Yes, you're out there watching, but I've told you before, you're in my kitchen, you're my friends, you're with me. And I'm coughing. I don't want to have to apologize. I mean, I shouldn't have to apologize every single time. Some people may think otherwise. So, in advance, please accept my apologies and excuse me for coughing. Now, my iPhone is being used to tape this. And as I said before, I'm 50 years old, so my memory is starting to, it's starting to teeter-totter a little bit. I can't remember things unless I jot them down. I've mentioned this before. So I actually have my mom's iPad here. And normally I would just use my iPhone in the kitchen to check my recipe and make sure I'm doing everything right, make sure I haven't forgotten my ingredients. So for those who do have an iPhone, and I'm pretty sure for those who have Androids, because Android does have TalkBack, just like iPhones have VoiceOver, you have a Notes app. And sorry, I'm just trying to, while I'm talking, I'm trying to insert my earbuds into the iPad. But anyways, and I've mentioned this before, I've made folders in my Notes app, and one is called ground beef, and one is called pasta, and one is called desserts, and so on and so forth. However you want to organize them. And maybe one day, if you don't know how to do that and you're interested, you can leave me a comment. However, by the time this episode airs, because this is our, I believe, 7th episode, so by the time this actually airs, probably will be around midsummer. But still, you can leave a comment, and if you're interested in me showing you how to do the folders and how to name them and how to organize them and so on and so forth, I certainly would be willing to do that. Or maybe, or somebody else in the blind community could do it. But either way, I don't have a problem doing it. But anyhow, hold on. Let me just turn on my iPad now. So I've got my earbuds in just because, well, you guys don't need to hear my password. So let me just, this is actually an old iPad. It's an iPad mini. And it's my mother's. Okay. So I'm in my notes app and I've gone under Chilli. And I'm going to use, for those who are familiar with the iPhone, I'm going to use the rotor action. So you take your two fingers and you twist them around on the screen as if you're twisting a knob. So I'm just going to turn towards the camera and I'm going to do this. And actually, hold on, let me take off my earbuds at this point so just you guys can hear it. Hold on. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to do that motion again.
Volume.
So she said volume.
Speaking rate.
Speaking rate.
Words.
Words.
Characters.
Characters.
Language.
Language.
Headings.
Headings.
Volume. Speaking rate.
Okay.
Note. Lines.
So there's my lines. I had to touch my notes to activate the rotor, to activate the lines. So I'm just going to go up and down.
1 green bell pepper dice.
So hold on, let's just get to the beginning of the note. Okay, so our ingredients for today, and it might be a little bit hard to hear over her, so I'm just going to put my earbuds in and I'm going to read them off to you guys. So we need 1 kilogram of ground beef, 1 red onion diced, 1 hot pepper of choice, finely diced. So 1 hot pepper of choice. You can use a jalapeno, you can use yellow hot, you can use whatever you want and according to your heat tolerance. 4 cloves garlic minced, 2.5 tablespoons of chili powder or to taste, 1 teaspoon cumin, 1 teaspoon oregano, 1 green bell pepper diced, 14.5 ounces canned crushed tomatoes, 14.5 ounces can of diced tomatoes with juice, 19 ounces canned kidney beans, 1.5 cups of beef broth, 1 cup beer, 1 tablespoon tomato paste, I would say 1 teaspoon to 1 tablespoon of, now this recipe says brown sugar, but you could do whatever sugar you want. And again, that's to taste. Salt and pepper to taste. 1 teaspoon of cocoa powder, and that's it. So I'm just going to put the iPad aside, but I'll have it on the side. If I forget something, I could just refer to it while I'm cooking. So our recipe is pretty easy today. I'm just going to, I've already diced up the onions, and I'm not going to show you guys how to do that today. Maybe on another, not maybe, at some point in another recipe or on another episode, I will show you guys how to dice an onion. It's, I've showed you how to clean it and how to cut off the root ends. And you would just, I will show you, but you would just put it on your counter and you would, with your knife, you would slice probably about halfway through in a grid. So you would slice 5 or 6 vertical lines, and then you would turn your knife or your onion around and slice another 5, 6 lines. And then you would turn your onion on the side and you would slice through, and you'll get nice pieces of diced onion. You could also use a gadget. And like I said, maybe on another episode, I will show you guys how to do that. What I am going to show you today is how to mince garlic. Not my favorite thing to do, but you know, has to be done. I'm just going to, so yes, I was just about to turn around and put on my apron because I'm not wearing it yet. As I started this episode, I was really enthusiastic and I told you guys that it's a beautiful day and so on and so forth. Well, since I'm feeling really pretty and all that stuff, I've got a pair of earrings on for those who can't see. And I'm going to describe them to you. The reason, you're going to tell me, you're going to be asking yourselves, well, why is this important? Well, it's important because I make these earrings by myself. I don't buy my costume jewelry, I make it. And I think I've mentioned before on an episode that I do. Well, today I'm just going to give you a little more details. One of the reasons that I say goodbye to you guys, saying a blind kiss to you, well, I'm blind. I love giving kisses to friends and family, and that's what my bracelet or my jewelry selling business is called. It's called Blind Kisses. I do have a Facebook page, but right now it's on hold. Just because of other circumstances and COVID, I've had to put my bracelet or my jewelry making on hold, but I'm planning to get into it again. So the earrings I'm wearing today, they're of gold color. I do have some gold plated pieces, but I don't work with real gold. I do, however, work with some real silver, but then again, also silver plated. I work with stainless steel and so on and so forth. I don't actually shape my own jewelry. I haven't gotten that advanced. Regardless, this particular earring that I'm wearing has I'm just going to take it off. It's got a fish hook. So what a fish hook is it's something that goes through your ear without a clip or anything to hold it in place. It's a long archy thing if somebody doesn't know what a fish hook is. It's like, if anybody was sighted, it's almost like the letter N, a small letter N. And I've got hanging from the fish hook that goes through your ear, I've got something, it's the shape of a bow, a square bow. And in the middle, it's got a little tiny pearl. You're going to say to me, what's a pearl? Well, if you had some vision and now you don't, you know what a pearl is. If you've never had vision, a pearl is a stone that comes out of an oyster, and oysters live in the ocean. How to describe the color of a pearl? It's a light, shiny, beautiful thing. If you've never had vision, you can't really explain colors to people that have never seen. However, if I was a counselor and I was teaching a blind child and I had to teach them about colors, I would associate colors with certain textures, things that make you feel good. Maybe, I would maybe give them cotton. See how tell them to feel cotton. Say, see how soft cotton feels and it's all bubbly and billowy. Well, that's white and that's a cloud. So anything that kind of feels like that may be white. So that's how I would associate it, but I'm not a professional. But anyhow, so it's got a little tiny pearl. It's not a real pearl because if I could afford real pearls, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'd be somewhere else. Anyways, and from there I've got 2 clear gemstones hanging from the bow. They're very shiny and sparkly. And then at the bottom, I've got another pearl hanging, a bigger one. So it's, they're very, very pretty. And I'm just putting the earring back on so we don't lose it. And I do make these things. And maybe at some point we could do an episode and I can show you some of these things. And when my bracelet business or jewelry business is back up and running, I'll give you guys more details. Anyways, again, we've over talked. So let's get to the recipe. I'm just going to grab my my apron. Alrighty, let's put that on. So today's recipe is, for the most part, pretty easy. I'm just going to show you guys quickly how to mince garlic. So I've got 4 cloves of garlic and I've already minced my 3. Now, a garlic press. How to describe a garlic press? It's a bulky thing that's got a handle and something on top that feels like a rectangle. And it opens up. So it opens up maybe like pliers do or like scissors do, something like that. And when you open it up, it's got a compartment that's made of stainless steel with little tiny holes in it. And that's where you would, it's almost like a little compartment, a rectangular compartment. And that's where you would set your garlic. And then on the other side, it's got another rectangle, a metal rectangle that almost feels like the top of a flat hammer. Underneath the compartment that I mentioned, it's got this little bar that goes across the compartment on the outside. That's to release your garlic into your bowl. Now, if you have arthritis in your hands as I do, garlic presses are not ideal. They're very hard to use. You need a lot of strength. If you can't mince garlic, grate garlic really finely on your box grater, just like I've showed you in other recipes. If you can use a garlic press, by all means go ahead and do. Now, I will eventually stop using this because my hands, I can handle it, but I'm sure in a few years I won't be able to. But you take your clove of garlic. If it's too large, cut it in half. This one is intact. You set it into your compartment, and then the hammer part of it, so I'm just flipping over the other handle, so the hammer part is actually touching the garlic. Over a bowl, squeeze. Now the handles are apart because the garlic clove is intact, but I gotta squeeze these handles until they come together and basically flatten the garlic clove, and it'll all come out underneath the hole. So I'm gonna do it now, but if you hear a couple of oomph, forgive me, but it's very, very hard to do. So I'm just going to squeeze it together, and I'm using both my hands, and I'm over a bowl. And I have to stop and squeeze again, and I'm sure you heard the garlic squeezing, but my handles are still not completely together, but my hands are hurting me, so I'm stopping, and I'm going to do it again. And I'm giving it a squeeze. And another squeeze. And as you can hear, it takes all my strength. So I wouldn't recommend this for disabled people or people who have major problems with their hands. Grating it might be easier. Now I'm going to touch the garlic press, and I'm going to move that bar, so whatever's hanging off the little holes that came through are going to fall into my bowl. Okay? And it might not get everything, so you might, want to use your finger, which I am, and I'm just throwing it into the bowl. And I'm just going to open up because sometimes some doesn't come through, so I'm just going to see if there's anything, and there's a little bit, and I'm going to throw that into the bowl. And that's it. So that's our 4 garlic cloves pressed, so they're ready to go. I've got an onion diced, and now onto the peppers. I could have done this before, but I didn't because I wanted to show you guys. So I have a bell pepper in my hands. Bell peppers feel like balls with some, I guess, ridges. And the way you clean a bell pepper is you put it flat on your counter, not on its side because on its side it's going to roll. You put it flat on your counter with the stem side up. And you take your knife, and you can either go on a 45-degree angle or vertically, completely vertically. You go as close to the stem where you feel the bumps on top. You go as close, and you're going to make a circle. You're going to cut. And I need to use it. I like doing it on a 45 angle because I can use my thumb to guide me. Whoops. Now, there was a little part of this stem missing just because my mom saw it, and she took it out because she thought, oh, whatever. I don't know why she took it out, but anyways. So I'm just going around the top of the pepper, like I said, in a 45-degree angle. Now this pepper, like I said, because my mom removed the stem, and I don't know why she did that, because I could have, as I went around, it would have been easier for me. But I'm just cutting around it until you get all around the pepper. Once you get all around, you're going to put your fingers in, and you're going to pull the stem out, and seeds are going to come out, and you're going to hear them. And you're going to stick your hands in, and you're going to pull out any seeds or any pieces with seeds. Now, I've already washed these. You're just going to, once you've done that, don't worry if you haven't gotten all the seeds out. You're going to put your knife on top of the pepper. Now it's got a big hole at the top because we've taken the stem out. You're going to put it on top, and you're just going to slice right through. So you're going to slice your pepper in half. And then you're going to take your pepper over your sink, and any soft membranes that you can just peel off, you peel off, and you're also going to get rid of whatever seeds are left. And here's some membrane that's soft. You just snip it off with your hands. You don't even need a knife for this. Okay. Okay. And if you want, you can tap a little, shake a little. So I'm just shaking it, tapping it, just to get rid of all the seeds. And I'm feeling, now you can use water at this point. If you're afraid that you've left any seeds in, I can feel that there is no seeds, so I'm not worried. But if you want to, you can, of course, run it under water to make sure all your seeds are gone. So I'm just doing the other half. I'm just cutting off what, and at this point, it's also the point where you feel if anything is slimy. If anything is slimy, you get rid of it. Maybe not. If it's too slimy inside, don't use that pepper because it may have mold in it. And that has happened to me. These are good peppers. And again, I'm just getting rid of all the seeds. So this is what we're seeding it. Okay, now. And I will check these peppers again after. I've got a hot pepper in my hands. Now, as I said in the ingredients, you can use a jalapeno, you can use a red hot pepper, you can use whatever you want. Like I said, my family, mom and cameraman love heat. By the way, our cameraman, his name is Jeff. I don't want to call him cameraman anymore. He's Jeff. So Jeff and mom, say hi, Jeff.
Hi.
Yeah. So Jeff and mom love heat. Husband and Zoe, we can handle a touch. We don't really like heat. And then we have my stepfather who, well, he can handle a little bit of heat. So sometimes he will. But I'm just using a yellow hot pepper. And now with the yellow hot peppers, you could do the same thing. The thing is you can't put it on the counter because the hot pepper, this is a long pepper. So it's probably, yeah, it's longer than from the tip of my palm to the end of my fingers. And it's got a point at the bottom. And at the top, it's got the stem. So I can't put this flat, but you can either do one of two things. You can put it flat and you can go as close to the stem. Put your knife as close to the stem and just slice through and get rid of the top of the stem. Or you can hold it in your hands and try to do the circle thing that we did with the bell pepper. I would recommend that. This is a small, the top of the hot pepper is a small hole. But I've chopped off the stem and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put my fingers in. It only fits one. I can't get both fingers in. And I'm going to start pulling out the seeds. And see, I just pulled out a whole piece of, I guess it's part of the stem, but it's in the pepper with all the seeds. At this point, I'm touching hot pepper seeds, guys. Don't rub your eyes. Don't put your fingers in your mouth. And I'm just shaking the pepper. Shaking it to get most of the seeds out. Now, so in this case, because this is a long, thin pepper, I can't get all the seeds out. I'm going to slice right through. So I'm going to cut this in half. I'm going to open it up. And you can do it two ways. You can hold it in your hand, put the knife at the top of the hole, and if your hands are steady, you can slice all the way through. Or you can put it on your counter and then basically find the top and slice horizontally through the pepper. So now I've got two long pieces of pepper. And now I'm going to remove the membranes, the soft membranes, and any seeds that are left. So that's how you... Yeah, okay. Now, and by the way, at the bottom, the tip might be a little bit black, might be a little bit brown because it's the tip of the pepper. So if you want, you can I just slice off a very tiny piece of the bottom of the long hot peppers. I'm just throwing all the seeds into the sink because I did get some on the counter. And I'm just going to do the other half of the pepper. Check it for seeds. Check it for membranes. Tap. Make sure everything's gone. Slice off the bottom. And we're ready to go. Now, that's how you would seed peppers. And so on and so forth. Again, you can run them underwater if you choose to do so. Now, my husband doesn't like peppers. You said to me, what? Well, then how are you making chili? Well, I guess it's in his mind, I don't know. If he sees pieces of pepper in his food, he won't eat it. So if I make a meat sauce for spaghetti and that particular day I'm using peppers in that meat sauce, I will actually put them through a food processor and almost, I will liquefy them. So I'll still get the vitamins and the taste in the food, but he'll never see them. In this case, because I'm supposed to dice these finely, he said that he'll eat. We will see. I'll let you guys know on the next 2 episodes. So what I'm going to do, and you don't have to do this, you need to finely dice your hot pepper and your green pepper. What I'm going to do for my husband's sake, and this is an extra step that you guys don't have to do, is I'm actually going to grate my pepper. Because I want to get it as fine as possible so that he doesn't pick it out. But I don't want to liquefy it. So I'm actually just going to use a box grater. And let's see if this will work. This is the first time I'm going to grate a pepper. And I'm doing it on the fine side, just like we did garlic in tzatziki. And I know we did it in some other recipe too. So yeah, it's working. I'm just grating the pepper. Now again, you guys don't have to do this. You don't have to grate your pepper. And I'm just not sure. Yeah, well. I did it on the fine side and it's very, very little. So let me see if I can do it on... My husband's going to have a fit. I'm going to do it on the larger holes and see what happens. Let's see. You know what? Yeah. I think it might be too large for him. I don't know. You know what? Yeah, so you guys don't have to go through this. I have to go through this because of my husband. All you guys have to do is dice your pepper finely. So I'm actually going to grate it on not the fine side because I think I'm losing too much pepper. So I'm just doing it, instead of dicing with a knife, I'm running it through the box grater and I'm doing it on the side with the biggest holes. And it's hard to do because your pepper falls apart. So again, you guys don't have to worry about this because of... if you like hot peppers and if you don't have somebody who hates hot peppers in your home. Anyhow, so you're going to finely dice your bell pepper and your and your green pepper. Dice them separately because you're not going to put them in at the same time. I am going to put you guys on hold so I can dice these peppers up. There's no reason for you guys to even see this step because you guys don't have to do this. I'm going to grate, you guys are going to dice, and you don't have to do that. So I'm going to put you on hold for, I guess, maybe 5 minutes while I figure out how thin I'm going to get this for my husband, and we will come back and we'll continue with the recipe. So see you in a few minutes. Hi guys, we're back. So I really want to apologize for wasting your time in the sense that I tried to grate my peppers for my husband's sake, and you guys don't have to do that. You just finally dice up your hot pepper and finally dice your green pepper separately. Put them in separate bowls. I ran my green pepper because it was taking me a long time. I ran it through my food processor, so I got it very fine. So hopefully he won't be able to pick it out. I could have liquefied it, but I didn't want to. The way you can dice up a pepper easily is you just cut thin strips, and then each strip you sit and you actually slice it up really finely, and which takes a long time. So you could do it through your food processor, which would make your life easier, which I did. So let's start our recipe finally, and I apologize. So I've got ground beef, which I bought yesterday from the butcher, and it's in the package, so I'm just going to open up the package. And I've asked him for 1 kilogram of ground beef. Now, I always tell this is lean ground beef. I wouldn't use extra lean. I think it'll be too dry. I wouldn't use regular ground beef because then too much fat is going to come out while you're sauteing. You can drain your beef. If you only have regular ground beef and that's what you want to use, you would saute it and then you would strain it to get rid of your fat. But if you do that, you might get rid of some of your vegetables and spices, and I don't prefer to do that. I'm using lean ground beef because that means I'm not going to have a lot of fat in my chili. If you use extra lean, you definitely won't have fat, but it might be a little bit of a drier chili, and I don't want that either. So, the other thing is I always tell my butcher, I want for example, I want 1 kilogram of ground beef. It can be a little more, definitely not less. In my case, he gave me, just because the cut of meat he cut up came out to 1 kilogram, so 1,000 grams plus 90. So 1,090 grams. 90 grams isn't going to make much of a difference in your recipe. If you want to be more of a perfectionist, you want to take that 90 grams, weigh it, take that 90 grams out and, I don't know, put it in your freezer and label it and use it in another recipe, that's fine. I'm just going to use the whole thing. So I'm just going to open it up. And it's just got paper and it's in a bag. So I'm just going to move over to my pot. I'm using my non-stick pot. As we've said before, I like using my non-stick pot. It helps my food not to stick. So I'm just going to dump the ground beef as is into my pot. So it's one huge piece. And I'm going to pour, I don't even got the heat on. I just got the ground beef in here. I'm going to pour the finely diced hot pepper into the pot. Okay. And put that aside. And I'm going to pour in my minced garlic. All in. Okay, some has stuck to the bowl. Big deal. We don't need that. And my diced red onion. So 1 red onion, 4 cloves of garlic, 1 hot pepper. Okay, we've got that in. I'm just, with my fingers, I'm pushing all the onion out. Okay. I've got, before we continue on, I've got 2 wooden spoons. One is, sorry, I'm just moving things away. I have things on my stove, gadgets, my scale, my can opener, my strainer, which we're going to use later. And I have them on my stove, so I'm just pushing them away from the burner. I've got 2 wooden spoons in my hand. One is just a regular wooden spoon that I'm going to use for stirring. But I've also got this, it feels like a spatula, but it's wooden. And it's got no holes or ridges, but the edge of the spatula, so on one end is your handle, on the other end is your flat, rectangular part of the spatula. But the tip of it is fine and a little bit pointy. I'm going to use that to break up the meat. So I'm just going to put those aside. Now, this recipe calls for 2.5 tablespoons of chili powder. And it's to taste. Chili powder is a blend of spices. Garlic powder, paprika. I think there's a little bit of onion powder in it. I can't remember all the spices that are in chili powder. So you can make your own chili powder. I have just a store-bought one. I don't remember which of, I have 2 jars of spices in front of me. Small jars, and I know my small jars are my cumin and my chili powder, but I don't remember which one is which, and they feel exactly the same. So I'm going to use my pen friend to figure out which one is which. And it's on. And I'm going to tap the label. Okay, that's cumin. We don't need that, so this must be the chili powder. Okay, chili powder. 2.5, tablespoons. Or to taste. At this point, I just want you guys, and my tablespoon doesn't fit in here. Wonderful. This is what I'm telling you guys about the wide mouth jars. Because this is a small jar, I mean, I got it in now because I pressed it, but when I pull it out, I may end up losing some. So this is not ideal, but... So I'm just leveling off my spoon. Okay, I've got 1 tablespoon of chili powder. You're going to throw it in with your onions, garlic, hot pepper, and ground beef. We're going to add the rest later. And you can also at some point taste to figure out if the heat is too much for you. So I'm going to turn on the heat to high right now. And I've got my pot centered on my burner. And right off the bat, I'm going to use this spatula looking wooden thing. And I'm going to hold it vertically. My left hand is holding the pot in place. And I'm going to press down and slice through. Press down and slice through. Press down and slice through. So we're breaking up the meat. We're breaking everything up. And this is going to get easier as the heat, as it starts to brown. But you're going to press down and slice. Press down, or even just press down a few times. And you can turn your wooden spoon. So at one point, let's say you're going up and down the pot, a certain direction, turn a different direction now. And keep doing this. So you're doing this, and while I still have big chunks because I can feel them. And right now my mixture isn't hot, so if I wanted to, I could put my fingers in and feel, but I can feel it with the spoon. And the sizzling is starting. And I'm just going to turn my heat down because we don't want it on high. We don't want to burn it. I'm going to turn it down to medium. Now my chunks are starting. I still have really big chunks, but they're starting to get small. So I'm just going to, hold on, I found a few more bigger ones. I'm just going around the pot and feeling with my spoon, or my spatula. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold. So you put your spatula on a 45 angle degree and scoop from the bottom and flip over. Flip over. And then again, and you're going to do this later on with your sauce. Don't worry if you don't get it all broken up, but you're going to try to break up as much as possible at this point. But like I said, if you don't break it all up, it's okay. And again, I'm going to scoop and fold. Okay. Now that the original heat is, the pot is getting hot, the mixture is getting hot, I had turned it down to medium. I'm just going to turn it up again a little bit more because the sizzling that I hear is very low. So I'm going to turn it up to my 6 mark on my stove. And I'm continuing to break up the meat. And this is all getting stirred up with the chili powder, the garlic, the pepper. And we're just... Again, see, you can hear me. You can hear against the bottom of the pot, I'm pressing down. And I'm vertically and horizontally making slicing motions. And I'm going to fold again so we can bring it all up and mix. Okay. And you might have to press down a little bit. And again, we want our ground beef mixture, and I can smell the chili powder, and it smells fantastic while we're sauteing. And you want your ground beef to not be pink. How are you going to know as a blind person that your ground beef is no longer pink? Well, very simply, we're going to turn our timer on when I find it, because I do have it somewhere here. And I just found it. I'm just going to set this for at least about 7 minutes. 7 minutes. That might be a little too much, but we'll see. And I turned it on, and it didn't catch because it said 1 second. So even though I pressed start, remember we test out the timer to see if it's working, and it's telling me 2 seconds. If it was set and it was working, it wouldn't allow me to set more time. So I'm going to press the clear. And I'm going to try again. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to set it for 5 minutes. I'm sorry. I originally said 7, but I think 5 is enough. And I'm going to press start. And it went beep, but I'm going to try again. See, now I'm pressing the second button or the minute button, and it's not doing anything. So now we know our timer's working. So let's get back to our ground beef. And we're just going to do the same thing again. We'll keep breaking it up, keep stirring, keep folding over. And like I said, it smells wonderful. And I can actually, through the steam that's coming off the ground beef while we saute and the vegetables, I can actually feel a little bit of heat. And I don't mean heat from the heat of the burner. I actually feel some heat in my throat, which means either my chili powder is really strong or my hot pepper is really strong. But some of the heat will evaporate with the cooking. So we're going to taste and see. Plus, we're going to put a whole bunch of other ingredients in here. Okay, so I'm just, again, see, I still feel some chunks. So, and this will, but when we put in our sauce, this will also, I'm folding again, this will also break up. So, again, I might not have to use the other spoon that I pulled out, but I pulled it out just for the sake of, just in case I need it. I'm using the spatula type of spoon now. And I'm going all around the pot. I'm going around the edges with different directions. I'm pressing down. And I'm also going in the middle. So I'm just moving my arm all around the pot. And I'm just going to go a little quicker. And wherever you feel big chunks, give it 2, 3 slicing motions in a few different directions. And like I said before, even if you don't get it all broken up, you will eventually with the sauce. Okay. And again, I'm going to fold over. And you can hear the beautiful sizzling. And when you fold over, the sizzling kind of slows down. But as you start to saute, because liquid and fat is coming out now. And probably a little bit from the vegetables as well, the onions and hot pepper. Okay. Now, I'm just going to let this sit and sizzle away for a bit so I can get some of my next ingredients ready. I'm going to have my ears open. What I want to do is open up my beans. I've only got 2 minutes left on my timer, but like I said, this is not set in stone. Just grabbing a can opener. It's an electric one, like I said. And I'm just going to plug it in. Now, you can use black beans, pinto beans, red. I'm using red kidney beans for this recipe. You can use a mix if you want. I wouldn't go overboard with the beans. You don't want to put it in your mouth and taste all beans. I mean, the main ingredient of chili is your ground beef, and that should be the main taste. Okay. Okay, I heard the click, which means the can opener is done. Throw the cap out. Now my sink is full, which I should have cleared, and I didn't. But just before we get to the beans again, I'm just going to give my ground beef another stir to make sure we're okay. And I can feel liquid in here, so we're good. It's not going to burn on us. But it's getting all nice and soft. I can feel the difference when I stir it and make the slicing motions. Again, wherever I feel bigger chunks, that's why you hear me banging. I hear bigger chunks and I'm just chopping right through it or slicing right through it. And I'm going to give it another fold. And I can feel that there's liquid here, so our vegetables or ground beef or both have let off some juices. And I'm just gonna, our timer is up. So it's been sauteing for about 4 or 5 minutes, or 5 minutes. Okay, turning off that. I'm gonna grab a strainer. Don't worry about your ground beef. It isn't gonna burn at this point because there's liquid. And I'm just gonna dump the beans into, I have a plastic strainer with a handle. And I'm holding the plastic strainer over the sink. And with one hand, I'm getting rid of, or emptying out the can. And I need to put my hand in to make sure there's some beans left. Okay, there was a couple. Now, just use tap water to rinse the beans off if you want. I've mentioned before that I don't use tap water. I use spring water, so bear with me. I'm just going to give my beans a rinse. You just want to get rid of all this guck that's on your beans. The guck is, I call it guck, but it's from the canning. It's a slimy substance that you just want to get rid of. So I'm just pouring water over them. And I stopped so I can give my beans a little toss with my hands, bring the ones from the bottom to the top. And I still feel that they're a little slimy. So I'm just, and please don't worry, the slime isn't something that you can't eat or it's nothing dangerous. It's just from the canning. So I want to weigh these beans because, excuse me, pardon me, when I bought my can, I forgot to label it. I don't know how many ounces my can is. So I just want to weigh them because I need 19 ounces of beans. Now, a 19-ounce can of beans, sorry, give me 1 second, I forgot to pull out a bowl. Okay. A 19-ounce can of bean includes the liquid that's in the beans. So this might be a little bit less. We'll see. If it's not too much less than 19 ounces, then we'll see. So I've got my scale on. It's ready. I'm just going to pour the beans into the bowl. Okay. Okay, it's 381 grams, but I want ounces. So I'm just going to press my button. Okay, so it's 13.4 ounces. Let me give my ground beef another stir because we don't want it to burn, and check on the liquid level. And again, as a blind person, how do I check on the liquid level? Well, I can kind of feel it. And our ground beef is pretty much, at this point, it's probably been sauteing for a good 7 minutes. The smell has changed. The texture has changed that I feel while I'm chopping and stirring. So we're ready to add the rest of our ingredients. So our beans, I'm going to stay with the 13.4 because if I added in the liquid that was in the can, it would probably make 19. Because 13, another 5 ounces, the liquid probably was 5 ounces. So 1 can of beans is probably good enough. So I'm just going to add my green pepper in. Okay. Green pepper goes in. And it's a hot day today, and I'm under lights. I'm under I'm next to a hot burner, so I'm very hot. And I'm going to toss in the beans. Okay. Beans are in, green pepper's in. I'm going to give it a little stir before we put our next ingredients. Just giving it a stir and mixing it up. Okay. Oops, I'm sorry. And we no longer, let's put things aside so we know what we're doing. Scale we no longer need. All right, now, this recipe calls for, yeah, I didn't turn off my scale, so she's speaking. This recipe calls for 1 14.5 ounce can of ground or crushed tomatoes, and it calls for 1 14.5 ounce can of diced tomatoes with their juice. My mother and my husband, again, they hate pieces of tomato in their food. They eat raw tomato, but they don't like cooked pieces of tomato. So I'm using 2 cans of crushed tomatoes. So 28 ounces canned, 28 ounces canned crushed tomatoes. But if you want to follow the recipe exactly, by all means go ahead and use the diced tomatoes. Like I said, I can't because of husband and mom. So I'm just gonna pour out everything out of the 1 can. Now I've got 2 spoons in my, I'm turning the heat down to medium while I add all my ingredients. I've got 2 spoons in my pot because I've got the flat now. Here we go. See, this is when good things happen. These cans, I told you guys before, the cans I use have tabs on them. You pull up and then you pull the tab. Well, as I pulled it up, it broke off. So I need to use the can opener to get it open now. So, yeah. Sorry, we just turned off the scale. So one of our cans, the tab broke off. So the only way to open it up now is with the can opener. So it's a good thing that we have the can opener out. And quickly. Okay, let's pour that in. And I'm not telling you guys how I find the pot and everything. I've done that in other episodes. So we've got all our tomatoes in, and now all we need to do is get the rest of our spices in and the rest of our ingredients. I'm just going to pull out the flat spatula. I'm going to use a regular spoon now for stirring. So I'm just going to stir this all up. Okay. Now, I still have a few things that I need to add into here. So, let's go with our spices. I'm going to add, what is this? See? Pen friend. Turning on the pen friend. Good. Okay, this is the chili powder. Remember I said to taste. I am going to add in the 2nd tablespoon of chili powder at this point. It says 2.5. I'm going to taste it close to the end of the cooking time. And if I see that it's not too hot, I'll add more. Okay. So we've got another tablespoon of chili powder. So that's 2 in total right now. And I'm going to set this aside because I may need it again. And now we need a couple of pinches of pepper. And I told you guys how to pinch and hold tight and just sprinkle over your food into your pot. So I've got 2 pinches of pepper. Now, if you want a lot of heat, don't add black ground pepper, which I just added regular ground pepper. Add cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper is very, 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 very hot. And like I said, I don't want too much. Okay? So we've got our pepper in. And we're going to go with the next ingredient, which is our oregano. I'm going to add a heaping teaspoon of oregano. That goes in. And we're done with that. And I'm just putting them onto my shelf as I put them in so that I know if it's not on my counter, I've already put them in. And I just want to double check that this is cumin. Yep, it's cumin. So I'm going to add in a teaspoon of cumin. So scoop into your jar, level off with your finger, and it smells, cumin smells wonderful. Well, My mom begs to differ because she doesn't like cumin. But if she can't taste a lot of it in her recipe, then she doesn't mind. But cumin is a nice smelling Middle Eastern spice. And what do we got here? We've got our sugar. Now, sugar. Some people add a tablespoon. Some people add half a teaspoon. I'm adding just a teaspoon of cane sugar. And I leveled it off. I'm going to give everything a stir because the spices need to be distributed. So we've got our cumin, chili powder, pepper, sugar. Everything smells delicious already. So I'm very excited about this. Now, salt. I forgot to add the tomato paste. Sorry about that. Salt, I'm going to start with a teaspoon of sea salt. Now, again, salt is to taste. So towards the end of the cooking time, I will check the salt level again for tasting. I'm going to add a teaspoon of, and this, I thought this was open, but it's not. And I don't have time to find the unopened one. So I'm just going to open it. I'm going to add a teaspoon of cocoa powder. People, don't be afraid. You're not going to taste cocoa powder. You're not going to taste chocolate in your chili. This is for the sake, and if you want a little bit of a stronger taste, you can add a little bit more. It enhances the chili taste, the ground beef, the beans. It just enhances things. Don't be afraid of the cocoa powder. I add a teaspoon just to help it. So we've added that in. That goes away. Now, because I forgot to add in the tomato paste, it doesn't matter. I am going to add it in now. Before you add your beans and everything else, we should have added our tomato paste and sauteed it a little bit. I've showed you in another recipe. You push your mixture to the side. You sort of empty out the middle of your pan and you saute. Hold on. Just getting rid of the oil that I have on top to preserve it. And I'm just going to scoop up a tablespoon. It doesn't have to be leveled off. And I'm going to throw it in now. You do need a tablespoon. I use a heaping one of tomato paste. If we had sauteed it, it would have given it a little bit of a nicer aroma. But I forgot. It doesn't matter. The recipe is not wasted. So let's just put that aside. I'll take care of it later. Let's give it up a stir. Now, if you can see, you're going to try to break up that tomato paste, but stirring it should do the trick. And the smells are absolutely fabulous. Okay, now, let's check our counter and see what else we haven't put in. So now we have our beef broth that needs to go in, our beer. That's an extra can of beans because I didn't know if it was enough. So that's all we have left. We have beer and beef broth. So I'm going to grab a beer opener. I'm going to grab my measuring cups, which I forgot again to take out, so pardon me. Now, if you don't want to use beer, when we use beer and wine in our cooking, that doesn't mean that we're giving alcohol to our children. Alcohol evaporates when cooking. So please don't be afraid of it. And 1 cup of beer in a whole batch of chili, which maybe serves 5, 6, 7 people, seriously, you're going to get very little beer in your... It's not going to harm anybody. I'm going to use a bowl again for the sake of spills. And maybe this is not a good one. This is a good one. Now, I don't drink beer. I do like cooking with it. I don't drink beer. So I'm not sure how to open up a beer bottle, but I'm pretty sure I have the... I think that you basically... Let me see. I'm going to figure this out in front of you guys. So, the beer bottle opener has a round portion to it, but in the middle of the round portion, I can stick my fingers through the round. It's got this little tab. So I think that you probably put the tab at the teeth of the beer and you lift up. And there you go. I opened up a bottle of beer. And I don't do that normally because I don't drink beer. But see, it wasn't it wasn't hard to figure out. I'm going to put the 1 cup in a bowl and I'm going to pour beer into the 1 cup. So I feel, and I don't care if it spills out. Whoops. Now, beer has foam. So when you feel the foam come up to your finger, that doesn't mean the cup is full. You wait for the foam to go down, which it almost has. Now, not all of it's going to go down. I'm just putting my finger in to kind of push it down. And I'm just going to add a little more, even though it might not need it. I think that's pretty much 1 cup. And I've got beer in my bowl as well. Who cares? Somebody can come up, grab the bowl. I'm moving with the bowl and the cup over to my pot. And I'm holding the bowl over my pot and I'm going to lift up. And now the foam has pretty much gone and it is 1 full cup. So I'm just going to move the plate and pour it into my food. And it foamed a little bit. Now if somebody wants, they could drink this out of the bowl. I don't because I don't like beer. So I'm just going to spill it into the sink. I didn't lose too much. And you guys are going to say, oh my God, she just wasted beer. Yeah, well, that's okay. And I've got a beef broth and I'm just shaking it and I'm going to open it up. And same deal again. Cup is in the bowl and I'm going to pour the beef broth into the bowl. Into the cup that's in the bowl. All right, and I felt it with my finger, so we're pretty much to the top. And same thing, I'm gonna move over to the pot with my bowl in my left hand, and the cup is in the bowl, and I'm gonna lift up the cup with my right hand, and I'm gonna pour the beef broth in. And I need another, we can put that away. And I need 1/2 cup. So our beef broth is 1.5 cups. And our beer is 1. Okay. Now, if you're not going to use beef broth, I'm just doing the same thing like I did before to pour it in. But if you're not going to use the rest of, in the next couple of days, you put the beef broth into your fridge. Now there's beef broth left in my bowl and I don't want to put that away. So I'm just going to put it aside and use a funnel to put it back into my container of beef broth. Beef broth, now that it's open, needs to go in the fridge. I have at least more than half in here. Why should we waste that? I'm just stirring up our food too. If you're going to use beef broth in your next meals in the next week, just store it in your fridge and you can use it. It will stay good for probably a little more than a week. If you're not, you can just freeze it at this point. You can freeze beef broth. And now, I have it on medium. I've added all our ingredients and it needs to come to a boil. You're gonna leave it uncovered for at least 45 minutes, simmer. So simmer for me, medium is 5, simmer would be 3. So once this comes to a boil, I'm gonna let it simmer uncovered for 45 minutes. And this should thicken up. And just before the 45-minute mark, I'm gonna check it. You do stir it every once in a while during the 45 minutes. When I say every once in a while, I don't mean every minute. It could be once, at the 10-minute mark, at the 15, at the 30-minute mark. Give it a stir 2, 3, 4 times. At just a little before the 45-minute mark, I'm going to check the thickness. If it's still too thin, I'm going to let it boil more. If it's if it's too thin, I'm going to let it boil more. If it's too thick, I might have to add a little bit of liquid. It might be just a little bit of water. And at that point, I'm going to taste for the spices and see if I need to add anything else. I was saying something before I said that to you guys. Oh, the beef broth. I wouldn't, if I put it in the freezer now, it's got more than 2 cups in there because this is a 1 liter, so it's approximately 4 cups. We used 1.5, so it's probably got about 2.5 cups left in there. And let's say I only need a recipe, the next recipe I use it for and I have it frozen, let's say calls for 1 cup. I wouldn't defrost that because it's 2.5 cups. I'm gonna label that and put it in the freezer. I might have another box in there that says 1 cup, and I would defrost that because once you defrost it, you can't refreeze that again. You only freeze it once. So you can portion it out if you want into containers and just have 1 cup portions in your freezer. It's up to you which way you're gonna do it. So I'm just gonna clean up now and let this simmer for 45 minutes, and we'll be back to show you the final product. So see you in a bit. Hi guys, so we're back and I'm excited because my chili is ready. My house smells great. Okay, so first thing, I mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again. My train of thought, sometimes I lose it, especially since I have my thought in my mind in a few different places. One is to cook, the other is to speak and describe, and probably a few other places as well that it shouldn't be. But anyways, so for the sake of the video, I sometimes make mistakes, and that's normal. And like I said, I could edit everything out and I could just redo a recipe if I had the money to cook up 2, 3, 4, 5 pots of whatever I'm doing. So my one mistake was that I didn't push my mixture to the sides and saute my tomato paste, which that happens. And it's not a big deal. I added it in later. Now, the second mistake I made is in my anxiety to do the recipe and do it quickly for the sake of time so that I don't bore you guys and go over the time, which now again we have, but what can I do? I added my beans first and then I added my sauce and my rest of my spices. I should have added my ground tomatoes first, and I should have taken my thick spatula, wooden spatula that I showed you, and broke up the meat even more. And I forgot to do that. It isn't a loss. My chili turned out great. But that's another thing. The other thing I just want to mention is that I just added the 1 cup of beer, whatever beer you have on hand. And in my case, I had a very light tasting beer, according to what my family tells me, because I don't drink beer. If you have a darker beer, the darker your beer is, the deeper your flavor will be. Just because you have a stronger beer or a darker beer doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a beer taste in your chili. There's so many other ingredients in here that, believe me, your beer is not going to stick out. That's not the main taste. So, but if you have a darker beer, it'll just enhance the flavor more. And I just use whatever I have on hand. But if I had the choice to use a darker beer, I would have. I also want to mention that I used a teaspoon of cocoa powder. You can up that to 1 tablespoon. And again, you're not going to taste chocolate in your chili, but it'll enhance the flavor. If you add a little bit more, I added a teaspoon. If you add a little bit more, it will enhance the flavor even more. I personally like this and the way I gave you guys the recipe. The other thing is the heat. We talked about this a little at the beginning. If you like it really hot, add cayenne pepper. I don't. If you like it really hot, add cayenne pepper plus an extra hot pepper. I only added 1. This recipe calls for 1. I'm making a mild chili. And believe me, I did add the full 2.5 tablespoons of chili powder because I found that it wasn't, with the 2 tablespoons, it wasn't that hot. So I added the extra chili powder and I did get a heat to my chili. It's a heat that I can handle, especially with my biscuits on the side and the cheese on top and the maybe onions on top, or even just nachos or tortilla chips or whatever for dipping. I can handle that heat. Somebody else might want even more. So please play with your heat preferences as you wish. And the last thing I want to mention is that this recipe really says 45 minutes to an hour on simmer. At 1 hour, at the 1 hour mark, I had it at simmer, so number 3 on my stove scale, and it was quite soupy. And chili for me should be nice and thick. It shouldn't be soupy. Yes, you want a little bit of sauce because you want to slop up all that sauce with your bread or your biscuits or whatever the case may be. But it was way too soupy. I actually turned up my heat at the 1 hour mark to medium, and I let it boil for another half hour. So my chili in total took an hour and a half. So this is the result. If we can get the camera to show you, this is the result in the pot. It's nice and thick. It gives me quite a bit of a resistance. I've turned off the heat now. It's ready. It gives me quite a bit of a resistance when I stir. So it's nice and thick the way I like it. And I'm actually not going to serve this till tomorrow. So I don't have any of my toppings ready. I am going to serve it with cheddar cheese on top. I'm going to slice up fresh green onions. A couple of people in my family are also going to chop up some hot peppers, some raw hot peppers, and put them on top. And Jeff, the cameraman, has even suggested he's going to throw a little bit of red pepper flakes on top because he really likes heat. And that's fine. And some people, like I said, serve it with sour cream and so on and so forth. For me, my plate, it's going to be cheese and onions. Everybody likes it different. I'm not going to serve this till tomorrow, but just so you guys can see the thickness, I'm going to let this sit for 24 hours. And so I'm going to cover it now, let it cool down, and just leave it on my counter till tomorrow. Get my buttermilk biscuits ready tomorrow. Warm this up and serve it. So I'm putting a ladle into my pot, and I put the plate underneath like I've done always. And I'm just going to fill up this bowl just so you guys can see how my chili is. So I like it nice and thick. And to be honest with you, I wish it was tomorrow because the smell is fantastic. So this is a nice, I don't have a deep bowl, I have a open bowl, and this is a nice bowl of chili, and on top we would put the grated cheese and all the other things I mentioned. See, I lost my train of thought. That's okay. Oh, I don't buy pre-shredded cheese because they add extra preservatives and stabilizers in the pre-packaged shredded cheese. I shred my own cheese. So I bought a block of mild cheddar cheese. Some people might want a sharp cheddar. I want to taste the chili more than I want to taste anything else. So I use a mild cheddar cheese, which I'm going to shred on my box grater, and I'm just going to plop it on top. If you want to buy the pre-shredded stuff, by all means go ahead. I just don't because of the extra preservatives and stabilizers. If you were to use pre-shredded cheese, if you were making a sauce, like a mac and cheese or something like that, it would have a hard time melting because of these preservatives and stabilizers. So anyhow, that's our recipe for today. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you make it. As always, let me know in the comments section. Even if this video plays, let's say it plays in July and you see it in September, and you want to make a comment, I'm sure there's a way that I will get an alert that a comment has been made on one of my videos. So even if you see this in September or whenever you see it and you have a question or a comment, by all means go ahead and post it in the comment section, and I will do my best to try to answer it. Soon I will give you guys I'm working on it, I will give you guys an email address where you can send your questions. If you don't feel comfortable doing it on YouTube, you can send your questions to my email address, and I will, with all my pleasure, I will answer whatever question you guys have. So that's it for today. I love you guys. As always, a blind kiss to you, and to you. See you later. I am your host, Zoe Fiogos, With sincere love and gratitude, I thank you for watching Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner.